Right, okay. So let's start first about the file handling. The idea there we are going to use is we are going to work on, we want to save data permanently. Now normally when we create variables, what happens, we can store values temporary. That means in the RAM. Now if you want to save permanently, then we have to create a file saving in the hard disk in your secondary storage. Now for example, if you are a player game and if you want to continue the game for the future ones, so we want to keep track of the game status, for example. So game status and the scores could be saved in a file format, right? So when it comes to Python, we need to use Python class, right? There's a file class that we want to use when we create files. Now the methods involved in the file class, once we create what we call file handler, that means the variable we create for file, and then we can make use of several methods, right? The first one, we have open method where we will open files in different modes. Now for example, we can open file for reading, we can open file for writing, and we can open file for appending. So here appending means you are opening an existing one. So the assumption is existing one, but if that file is not available, it will create a new file. Okay, so those things we will discuss. And one thing you need to remember, when you open a file handler, make sure that you close it. At the end of file handling, make sure that you close the file. You open file in the beginning with different modes and then you close the file. Right, then there are other methods we could use to read and write. So when it comes to reading files, we can use read lines, read line, and read. Okay, so different things will happen which we will discuss in detail with the examples. And finally, the write method. Write method if you want to save something in the file. So these are the methods that we will use. Okay, so now let's take an idle session. I'm going to get my shell and I'm going to open up a file, right? So I'm going to divide the screen into two. With one side we have the idle session and the other side I will have the shell. Right, now three things you need to do. Right, first we'll discuss how to create a file using a Python. First thing you need to remember, we have to open a file for writing. I'm putting a comment here. I open the file for writing, and then you can close it. Remember to close the file, and in between we can save whatever the content. So we can say, okay, write contents to the file. Okay, I hope the file the steps are clear to you, right? So this is what exactly we are going to do. So the first step, let's start with the first step, that is open a file for writing. So we'll say file, this is we call file handler, and this will create using open method, and you will see we have to specify mode, right, and the file name. So the first of all, I'm going to create a file called test.txt, right? This is the file I'm going to create, and then the mode. The default mode is R, that for reading. So now I'm going to create it. Because of that I will put W. So this is the first Python statement. And the last one is, once you open it, you make sure you close. So I will put close here. So file close, which is to close the file. Right. I hope it's clear to you. Right, okay. Next thing, once we open and close the file, in between we can have file write statement, file.write statements to write anything you want inside the file, right? So you can have any number of file write methods, right, to write content to the file. So let me type this. So I'm going to put this Department of Computer Engineering. So this is my department, right? I'll put this as a text file, right? Don't take down, there's a slight change. I want to make it at the end, right? File.write. The next one is, let's say, University of Peradeniya. Okay, now I have 2 lines, and what I suppose to do, I'm going to create a file. Right, now first I want to show you the folder that I'm going to save this, because I want to make sure that we have no files there. So I'll go to the desktop and Python for ML2, that is where we have everything. So if you look at carefully, you don't see a file called test.txt. I'm going to create it. First, I'm going to save this file. I'm going to say save, right? In the desktop, Python ML2, I'm going to say okay. So this is program number 18, right? File. I will put it like this. Just save it. Now you see I have the file here. Now I'm going to execute. I'm going to choose run module, which will run here. You don't see any other output because it's going to create the file. So let's go back. Okay, now you see there's a file here. It's a text file with the 58 bytes, right? Let's double click it, open it. So we can see Department of Computer Engineering, right? And University of Peradeniya. Remember, now here everything is in one line, right? Everything is one line. It has not gone to the next line. Which means if you want to preserve the way it is, which means now what we have used is, we said Department of Computer Engineering, University of Peradeniya, we want to put it in 2 lines, isn't it? So for that, remember when you are writing, use new line character. /n represent new line. New line means go to the next line. And here also put new line character. Why I did that? Otherwise what will happen, everything will be in a single line, right? So we have to force, or we have to put new line character to make sure that it will go to the next line, so that we will get the correct output. So I'm going to close this again. I will rerun this time, run module. Okay, right? What has happened now, you will see it's in 2 lines, right? Okay, I think we'll try this first and then I'll go to the next one, right? So okay, here is a code, complete code to create a file, right? Okay, finish this. And once you finish, please indicate that you have finished this. Okay. Sorry about that again. Show me the code. Those who finish, please raise your hands so that I can move to the next one. If you have any questions, please let me know by using the chat. Okay, this is great. We almost half of the class completed. I'm waiting others to finish. Oh. Oh. ඉතින් මත් දැක්කු ගන්න පුතේ ලොකු අයද මේ ඔක්කොම නිකන් අවුරුදු 30 විතර වගේ නම් ඉන්නවා 55 විතර වගේ Okay, thanks. We'll move to the next one then. Right, now we have learned how to create a file, isn't it? The next one, what I'm going to do, right? So here is my code, and then here is my shell, right? So I'm going to again create a file to append. Append means you are going to add a few more, right? That's exactly what I'm going to do, right? So in this one, we are going to append something. Appending means right now I have 2 lines. I'm going to add 2 more lines. So I will open up a new file this time, file, new file, and again I'm going to open a file. So the first thing I'm going to do, I'm going to open an existing file. Remember this, if you do not have this file, then it will create a file, right? Then we will write contents to the file, and finally I will close the file, right? Now when you are opening an existing file, make sure you are not going to overwrite this. Now to do that, we will create the file handler using open method, right? In this case we already have test.txt file, and the mode I'm going to use A. A stands for appending, right? So it will add content to the existing file, and finally we will say file.close, right? Now I'm going to continue my we have Department of Computer Engineering, University of Peradeniya. So I'm going to complete the address saying file.write. We will say okay, Peradeniya, with the postal code, and remember the new line character always, otherwise you know what will happen. And finally again another write to say that okay, Sri Lanka, right? We will have slash, okay, right? The idea is I'm going to add these 2 lines to the existing file, right? Right now if you go to this one, if you look at the file, we have only 2 lines, right? So let's see what will happen. I'm going to say run module, and I need to save this file. So this time I'm going to say okay, program number 19. I'm going to save it. We'll run this. Now if you go back to your folder, if you double click the file, you will see that okay, there are another 2 lines written in the same file. That's called appending. Okay, I want you to finish up to this point, and can you please raise your hand if you have finished up to this point? Okay, we have Asela, Kalana, right, Janita, Vishaka, Harshana, Indika, Charit, Saumya, Prabhat, right, and Ishara. Finish up to that point. I'm waiting for Dilhara, Gayan, Harita, Hishan, Janaka, Kasun, Lihini, and Nahil and Nali. Okay, a quick question. If I rerun this, what will happen? Anyone? If I rerun this, if I say run module again, what will happen to the file? Yes, Saumya? If I rerun the file again, what will happen to my text file? it will append, right? What do you mean by appending? Whatever the existing content, you are adding these two lines. So if I rerun, run module, right? And if you go back to the folder and open up a file. So what I did here, actually, I reran the file, and you see that there are two lines added. Again, I'm going to rerun. Let me open the file again. Another two lines added. So appending means is keep on adding contents to the existing file. Right. Now, can any one of you tell me, if I run again the very first file, what will happen? Right. If I rerun this one, what will happen? Any guesses?
Overwrite everything?
Yes, exactly. If I rerun this, then it will overwrite. Why overwrite? It's open a file for writing. So remember this. If I say run module again, right? And if I open the file, you see it has only two lines. It is because it's overwrite the content when you use write method. So make sure that you use write file mode very carefully, otherwise it may erase the existing content. Right. Okay, so we have one last point to discuss, but before that, let me run appending method as well. So let me close this. We have, okay, append, so run module. Okay, so hopefully now we have everything completed. Let me open up. Yes, we have 4 lines. Now let's discuss how to print the content in this file. So we have the complete address. Let's see how we are going to read the file, right? So this is exactly what we are going to do at the end, right? Now for that, so I'll open another file, right? So this time, okay, I'll open file for reading, right? And then I will close the file, right? And in between, I'm going to write statements for reading the content. So the first thing I'm going to do, I'm going to read the file line by line, right? I'm going to read the file line by line. Okay, so let's start. So the first thing is creating file handler. So I'll open the test.txt file for reading. You don't have to specify R because it's a default one, but anyway, I'm going to put R here. And then if I want to close, I will say file close, right? So this will close the file. Okay. There are many ways that we can actually read content, right? Don't write down everything because I need to correct this. So for this one, for all the lines, I'm going to read line at a time. This is how I'm going to use. I'm going to use a for loop. For loop is a iterable one. It can use to read a file line by line. So you can have any variable name here. Since I'm going to read the lines, I'm going to say line in file. That's all. So basically, if I put this, it means you are going to go through each of the lines in the file at a time. The variable will be line, and then I'm going to print the line, right? Okay, I told you this is not the correct answer. I need to correct it, but let me show you. I'm going to run this, run module. Okay, I first have to save it. So then we have to save it as, in my case, program number 20, right? And this is the outcome. Okay, there's a slight issue now with this print. Let me discuss this first. The issue is, originally what we stored, what we have stored inside is this, right? Can you see what is inside? Now we have inside, we have the address in every line. Now here we have every other line, which means there's a space, additional step. Now let me tell you the reason why it happens. Now we know when we write down the code, we have added new line character. Remember, in our original code, when we had new line character, and if you look at the help, right, help, print, if you look at the print statement, you know that at the end, it will add /n, which means a new line character. So which means it will add 2 new line characters. So that's why we are getting additional space when you run this. You say run module. So you see additional space because, right, originally we have add /n, and a print statement also add /n. Now to correct this one, in the print statement, usually we can say ending, we are going to say empty. How do you say empty? You just use single quote or double quotes without any space in between. When you do that, now this is correct. When you run module, you will get exactly what is inside the function. Okay, so let's take down this, try this, and when you finish it, please raise your hand so that I know you have finished up to this point. Thanks. Again, if you have any questions, make sure you use the chat session to let me know. Okay, this is great. About half of the class finished. Okay, we have Naveen, Nahil, Kalana, Janita, Janaka, Indika, Hishan and Harita. I am waiting for you. Okay, once we finish matrices part, I will show you how to read. Okay, once we finish the matrices part, that means numerical Python part, I will show you how to read even image, right? But reading image, we would consider it as like you have binary information. This open mode is slightly different. But when it comes to text, so this is what we can use. We can use it for writing, appending, and for reading. Right, those who have finished, I want you to quickly write a small exercise, right? And then I want you to share the code in the chat, right? Here is what we are going to do. So let me go back. We have already discussed the writing files, appending and reading. So this is what we have done. A quick exercise, within 5 minutes, I want you to finish this. Let's start. You can lower the hands. I want you to write an Python script to have your address in a file called myaddress.txt. If you have finished, please post your code in the chat and then raise your hands. Okay, we got Janaka and then a sailor completed. Right. So if I open up a new file for this, we have discussed we need to open a file first of all as my address, text file, and for writing. So that's the first one, and then you can write whatever you want inside. Let's say make sure you use new line character if you want to have them in separate lines. Again /n. Right, and then you know that you need to close the file. So if I run this, let's say run module, let me save it first. This is program 21, right, and it will create a file inside my folder. You can see now my address is there. Okay, so you can see this. The next thing that we want to do is opening the file and read the content. We can do the same. So the next time again you can open the same file, right, for reading, and then for line in file we can have print line, but make sure that, right, the end is empty, otherwise you will have additional line in between. And finally I can close the file. Right, now if I rerun this, so this time you will see the content will be displayed, and majority have actually finished and shared their code with us. Okay, this is good. And if you have any difficulty in understanding this, one way is go through the material several times and also use some additional exercises I have posted in the Google Classroom, right? So I have a submission deadline tomorrow, but it's not compulsory one, but those who needs to do additional exercises and those who want to learn lot more on Python, so I highly suggest you complete and submit it, right? Okay, so to complete this part, I have one additional thing to discuss. That is, I would like to discuss, read file line by line using read line. So in this case, we have used a for loop and we went line by line. So another way is, let's say you don't know, right, what is inside the content. So then we can actually go through with the while loop, like we can use while true, and then we can go by the lines, right? Okay, so let me show you how we are going to do this. I'm going to open up another file. So So in this case I'm going to say file, right, new file, and in that I will use a file method and I'm going to open the existing file. So let me use test.text for reading, right, and at the end we are going to close the file. So that part I think now you are familiar with, opening and closing. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to use while true, which means a never ending loop. Remember, always the condition is true, which means whatever we put it here will go through, right? And what I'm going to do is I'm going to read line by line. So to get that one, I'm going to use file.readLine. Now this read line method will take one line at a time, and in this particular case it assigns a variable line, right? And then we can say okay, print line. Now this is not the complete answer, right? So there are some errors. So let me save it. Yeah, this is program number 22. So if I rerun it, this is not the complete answer. When you say run module, you see it goes on with empty lines. So I will say Control C to end this one because we have a never ending loop. Right, now I don't know whether it will run it again. Is it? Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Control C. The reason is in this particular case it will go, right? If I go to the top, you will see again one space in between. The reason is we have not put it properly. Say that end. I have to make sure this. And the next one is when the line is empty, we have to find out end of the file. Okay, here is the code for this. We can use if selection. We can check the length of the line. We know that when the line is empty, the length should be 0. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to add this line. If length of the line is 0, I'm going to say break. So here is another example where we use a break statement, right? We check the length of the line. If it is 0, we are going to say break. Now this time when I run module, you see that it will completely, print the output exactly the way we want. So when you say file.readLine, which means reading one line at a time. Okay. So this is actually, it says close file. Instead of read line, if you use read lines, it will read all the lines into a single variable. In this case, it will be a list of, right? Just to show you. So if I say file equals, let me open the file. I'm not sure, yes. And then if I say line, I'm going to say lines this time. File dot read lines. And if you look at the content lines, yep. So it will be a list of, you see, this is the first one. List we have not done yet. This is the second one. And this is the third one. Right? And this is the fourth one. So if you use len lines, yes, it says there are 4 lines inside the file. Hope you could get that. So I have completed all the three read statements. We first look at read and then now read line. So now we have completed actually two, read line and read lines. Read line will read file line by line. Read lines with S, it will read all the lines into one single variable. It will be a list of contents, right? So the list we'll cover later on. So then we will discuss. Right, if you are finished up to this point, please let me know by raising your hands. And with that one, actually, we conclude our discussion on file handling. And I hope you are now comfortable with file handling in Python. We have covered the basics. We discussed how to write files, how to append files, and how to read files. Okay, right now about 6 of you have finished, and next part is a very interesting one. We are going to learn about the modules in Python, which is one of the strongest point in Python, where whenever you want to do something, you can find a module for that, right? So Python has a extensive library of functions, and we can see it's growing, and that's why Python is #1 programming language. Whatever you do, it might be networking, it might be communication, it might be physics, chemistry, whatever it is, you can find a relevant Python module, right? So we'll see next what modules are available. So I'm going to start with the math module first, just to give you an idea about like some of the basic mathematical modules, and then I will let you know graphics module, to have a fun. At the same time, you can play around with whatever the things that we have learned so far. You can make it a practice. Right, we have about half of the class finished and we still waiting. Yeah, take your time, there's no hurry. But those who have finished, you can search about the modules in Python just to get a feeling like what are the Python modules available. So in this course, I'm plan to teach the math library, that's a default, and then TK Inter, that is library for graphics, then numerical Python library for handling data, manipulating data, and pandas where we store data wrangling, and then finally in the last session, scikit-learn, which is a machine learning library for Python. So these are the things that actually we have planned to at least get familiarized with, so that you are ready to start your data analytics journey. Right, I think now almost everyone finished. So let me go to modules. Right, now the modules part. Right, now we already learned how to make use of functions, and we discussed the advantages of function, which means you can reuse, right? Whenever you use a particular set of statement, you can put it to functions. So likewise, people have came up with the library of functions which we call modules in Python, right? So whenever you want to use a module in Python, you need to import it, right? I hope if you have done any other programming language, this is also the same. So you are actually first of all import the module. That means you inform the Python interpreter that you are going to use that particular module, and then you can use the functionality. So the standard library means whenever you install Python, right, there are some standard libraries available for you to work with, right? And one of that is called math module. So for mathematical stuff, right? So this is not the complete list, so you have to refer the documentation for the complete list of mathematical functions available in math module, right? But some of them I would like to discuss. For example, getting a square root of a number, right? For that we have the functions. So right now we have not learned how to use this, getting logarithms, getting trigonometric functions, converting degrees to radians and so on, and a mathematical constant value pi, and also the constant e. So these are like some of the commonly used library functions. So let's discuss the use of these functions. Right, now let me get first of all with the shell, right? We'll start with the shell, and with that we can discuss in detail. So I'm going to open idle session, right? So open idle, right? So we have the idle session. Okay, you can see. Now for example, let's say I want to get a square root of number 2. So if you type square root of number 2, right, there's no function called square root, and it will give us an error message. It says it's not defined, right? Now if you want to use math module, we can say import math. So this is one way to do this. If you use this fashion, if you say import math, right, and then when you want to use a function, you always have to use math dot square root, right? Now if I say put 2, the value of square root of 2 is 1.414 and so on. Okay, so that's the simple use of a library, right? So likewise, if you want to use mathematical value for pi, you can say math dot pi will give you pi value, constant. Right? Okay. So likewise, if you want to get logarithm, you can say math dot log. You can have the base e, and if you want to have base 10, for example, let's say if you say 1000, we know that it's 10 to the power 3. So log 10,000, right, means it's 3, right? 10 to the power 3 is 1000, right? Now this is one way of importing. So some of the places you see that we will use import math, and then always you start with the library name and the method name. So getting help is also the same. So for example, if you want to get the help for math module or math dot, let's say square root, you can say okay, math dot square root, which will give you the help for this, right? So make a note of this. Sometimes we want to know the details. So similarly, if you want to get the help for pi value, we can say math.pi, right? So it says there are a lot of 206 lines. You can double click it, right? And then you can read about this, right? Okay. Now that's about one way of getting this one. The problem here is, one of the problem is it will actually you import all the methods. Now let's say in a program you need a one particular method. Let's say we need only square root of method in math module. Then we can say from math, then we can say import the square root, sqrt. So if you use this form, then you can directly use square root, because you can directly use this. Yes. So this is the other way to use this, right? So make a note of this. So if you want to make use of the function directly without calling the library, so you can use this fashion, from math import sqrt, which means you are going to directly use that function. Okay, so here is the list of functions available. Try some, and once you are comfortable with calling these functions, please let me know by raising your hands. Then I'll move to the next module. If you want me to explain any of the functions, please let me know in the chat.
Try again later. Open. The dialogue you called.
So for example, let's say you want to get sine of sine 30. So we can say math.sine. The value you have to have it in radians. So if you want to get sine 30, then first of all you have to make it radians. And let me put 30 here. Right, almost you know that we cannot exactly get the answer, but it's very close to 0.5. So 4.999 means it's almost equal to the answer. Right, okay. Then power x raised to the power y. So for example, we know that 2 to the power 9 is 512. If you want to use it as a math function, we can say math dot, yes, this is what we have, this is 2 comma 9 will give you the answer, right? Okay, so these are like just examples that you don't need, but you know, remember that you can use this in math module, right? Next one, okay, the graphics. I used to, you know, have this, you know, module. One thing is the make use of how to use modules in Python. The other one is you can actually have a, you know, a little bit of fun when you're creating programs, right? Most of the time what we discuss is kind of a boring. So this could be used to, you know, have some fun. Right, now give you the basics. Now usually if you have kids at home and if you want to teach Python, this is the place I used to start. You know, I tell them how to draw graphics, which is kind of a fun for them as well. Now a few things that you want to set it up. First one is getting this import turtle, which means we are going to make use of this library, turtle library. If you have heard about the programming language called Logo, which is one of the programming languages we use to teach for kids, is moving a turtle, right? So to create this canvas, we can create an object of turtle. You can create, either use turtle or pen. In my case, I'm using pen here, right? Which will create the canvas with the turtle. Right, now here is what I got, right, when you do this. So I have one object here, one turtle. If you want, you can create many turtles with different names. That is also possible, right? Right now we'll assume that we have only one, right? Okay, and then you can move this forward. I told you, like, this is like graphics. This is a turtle in the screen. We can move here and there. There are a few commands that we want to teach the kids. Like we can say, okay, move forward. You know, we can say forward, and the distance in pixels, let's say 50. So what happens if you put 50 here? You will see it will move forward 50 pixels. Right, now I'm going to turn, right? You can turn this turtle left or right. So for that we can say t dot, you know, left, let me say, in degrees, 90 degrees, which will, you know, change the direction. Now I can get the forward again, yes, left again, you know, forward again, left again, and finally forward again. If you want, you can say left. So running the two commands for 4 times, you will get this, isn't it? Yep. So this is what you could do, right? So I think there are few things that you should know, some commands. Let me show you. So first of all, try with this. I will put the code again. And the second one is you can use forward or backward. You can go turn to the right. You can turn to the left. You can change the pen color. You can fill object with colors, right? And to fill, we have to use two methods: begin fill and end fill, right? But I think we'll start with drawing a small code. We'll open up a file. We'll have this code. So the first step, as I told you earlier, so we can say import turtle, and then t dot turtle dot pin, and then t dot forward, I said 50, and t dot left, I said 90, right? And if you repeat this for 4 times, yes, you are getting a square, a size of 50 pixels, right? So in the desktop, I'll go to this. Now the program number 23, I'm going to say graphics, and when I rerun, actually it's let me run again. Where is my code? It'll actually quick. You can try run module, right? It's quite you see, you can speed up. Now since you have repeat in 4 times, you don't have to type 4 times. Only thing what we could do is you can use a for loop. Range 4 times, we can simply say range 4. Remember we discussed this idea earlier, right? When you say range 4, we'll repeat 4 times. So I can run module, right? It will be the same thing, but we will get this. Now if you think that this is a small, you can change the number of pixels. Let's say 100. Yes, we can say run module, right? Now it's a bit larger, so you can change the size. Okay, try this, and when you're finished, please let me know so that I can discuss some more examples using this library. Hari, wakarapati kathari. Ne, Python එක නෙමෙයි ඔයා කරේ. Make sure when you are saving, you have to be very careful about your program name. Don't put the name of the file as turtle in any case, which will give you an errors. Now this is like we are creating an object and we'll use methods, but you can directly use like other ways of importing. So you can say from turtle import and so on, then you don't have to type T here. right? But in this case it's more powerful because you can create many objects. So I can have 2 turtles, for example. Okay, finished. How many of you finished? We have only one raise their hand, so I really don't know. If you have any issues, like, please let me know. Okay, yeah, about half of the class finished by now. I'm winning from Dilhara, and then Gayan, Harita, Hishan, Ishara, Janaka, Kalana, Lihini and Nahil. Any one of you having any issues, please let me know. Okay, that's great. Right, let me show you like things that I want you to try. Here are some of the simple shapes that you could try. I will give these as a handout today, and I want you to try it out, some of these shapes. But let me give you like more detailed information on how to repeat something. Now, for example, if you take this is basically you are repeated a same shape. Like in this particular case, it's a triangle. You have repeated. How do you repeat? It's easy, right? So you get the code. Let me go back to my code. Now let's say in this one I can repeat how many times? Let me say now I draw the square. In this case, this will create a square, and then I turn slightly to the left. Let's say 30 degrees. Yes, for the complete cycle it will be 300 degrees, which means I have to repeat this 12 times. So I can say for, let's say, j in range 12. Now within that I'm going to put these 2 lines. The idea there is I'm actually repeating this step. Here actually I am creating the square, and then I'll repeat this. Okay, so when I repeat this, so see what will happen. So let me run module. So in this case you will see, okay, so here is how it will work. The same shape is repeated multiple times. I think if you have done with this repeating the shapes, usually pen and the shapes, we used to do this by hand as well. So you can make it more interesting by reducing the number of angle and increase the number of times it will repeat, right, like this. So this will take some time. Actually, you can change the speed of the turtle as well. So there's a default speed is there. I think it's half of the speed you can have. So you can increase the speed of the drawing if you want. That also can be changed. Right. The next thing that I would like to talk about is change of pen colors. Right. So for example, if you want to use pen color, right, you can decide how do you want to do this, right? So we can say pen color, and we can specify the color of the pen, right? So let me finish. Now for example, here after this I can say okay, t dot pen color. When you are specifying the color, you can have color name or RGB values. If you have done RGB, then you know. I'm not going to spend the time on that. But simple ones, you can specify the name. So not all colors can be put in this form. but there are few colors. If you look at the documentation on pen color, it will show you. Let me use run module. Right, so this time you will see, so it's in red color. Right, so if you want to know the details, always we can have import turtle. Yes, if you say help turtle dot pen color, should give you the details. Now here is the documentation for pen color. Now it says pen color, you can use hex format, or you can specify color specification as names, or you can have RGB values, right? So we can make use of any method you want with this, right? So that's about the pen color. Right, now then the another one is you can specify fill color as well. Now pen color we have done, right? So now it is red, right? And then you can change the colors every other time, right? You can change. Now for example, I can do something like this. Now let me say if j divided by 2 is equal to 0, then I can say okay, t dot pen color equals red, or else I can say t dot pen color is blue. So alternative colors, right? So that's exactly what I'm doing here. So I can, if I run module this time, so you can see every other, and we have changed colors. So you can try, and then you can play around with the loops, right? You can play around with the values you have. Ami, right? For example, if you get help, if I remember it's a speed, let me check turtle dot speed. Yeah, so right now fastest is 0, slowest is 1 slow, right? Yeah, turtle speed, maybe I can put 0, right? Speed 0. So for example, here we will see speed, let me try 0. Let me change a bit. I'm going to put 6 here, and then I'm going to put 60 here. So let me run module. So you can see the speed of the drawing. This is the fastest way to draw the shape. Yeah. Now similarly we can do the fill color as well. Now how fill color works, we have to have the begin fill and end fill, right? So I'm going to say, for example, first of all we have to define the fill color, not the pen color. Pen color I'm not going to change here. So the default color is black. So instead of pen color, I'm going to make it fill color. right? I'm going to make it fill color. The idea there is the filling color. You draw the shape and fill with these colors. So I define two colors alternatively here, and then the shape is here, right? Actually, you could have written a function to do this. So let me put, so in this case, I will put t dot begin fill. This is to indicate the start of the shape, and this is the end of the shape. Begin and end. So I can say run module. Hope I didn't do any errors. So you see how it works right now. It's always alternate colors. Yes, you can take down this, and if you finish up to this point, please let me know. Try multiple possibilities. I have given you like some ideas you to try out, right? And you can share your drawings in the Google Classroom so that others also get inspired. If you want, you can share your code as well. They could try it out. Right, so yeah, we have about like 10 minutes. The next thing that actually what I want to do is I want to teach how to create our own set of modules, right? So please let me know whether you have finished. If you have finished up to this point, then we could go to that one as well, and then we'll finish for today. Thanks. Okay, so once you finish this code, please let me know that you have finished. Then I'll move to the next one. Right. Okay, great. So those who have difficulties, I will share the code, my code in the chat, so that, okay, those who have difficulties, I have shared my code in the chat so that you can copy paste and try. Okay, so let's move on. The last part for today, we have about 8 minutes. I will at least start this. I'm going to show you like how to create our own modules. Now we already know that these modules that we have used, that means the math module as well as the turtle modules, they have written by someone else, right? And we can make use of that. Similarly, now if you are writing a program and if you want to keep using your own set of functions you have written, you can create it as a separate file in Python and you can make use of it, right? So that's exactly what I'm going to discuss now. So in this particular case, let's start doing a small exercise. In this exercise, I want you to create 4 functions. These are called temperature functions. So the first 2, I want you to get temperature from degrees Fahrenheit and to convert into Celsius and Kelvin. Okay, so the first two formula, what you want to do, you get the temperature value in Fahrenheit. I want you to convert into Celsius and Kelvin. So the two formulas are given here. Similarly, the second part, I want you to get the temperature as degrees Celsius and to convert Fahrenheit and Fahrenheit. 4 functions. Let's start. And if you finish, please let me know. I think let's first write the function for this one, the first one, and can you share your code with me? Let's write the function for the first one, first conversion, get the temperature in Fahrenheit, convert into Celsius. So let's start. Okay, let's start. Right, let me take a new file. Right, what we need to do is we want to write a function to convert degrees Celsius to Fahrenheit, right? Degrees Celsius to Fahrenheit. Right, okay, so the first one I want to convert right. So the function definition is, we can say def, you can give any name you want, right, any name you want. Let's say it's TC, the same name given for us, TC, but then we want to get some value in Fahrenheit, so I'm going to put F for that. So that's the input, we are getting Fahrenheit, we want to convert into Celsius. Now what we need to return is this one. We want to use the first formula, that is this one. Then you get the Fahrenheit value, subtract 32, right? That's it, right? So let me save this as temp module. I have written only one function. I'm going to say temp module. Then let me use run module. Okay, so here we have this run module. Okay, and then I can use TC now. If you say TC and within bracket, if you this, so let me put TC. We have run module. Yep, and we can say TC within brackets. Let's put 32. We know when you put 32 as the Fahrenheit value, 32 minus 32, it will be 0, right? So we are getting 0 here, right? Which means our program is okay, right? Let's write the second one as well, right? In the second one, what we are supposed to do, we will convert Fahrenheit to Kelvin. So we can say TK, we have F, okay. Now the problem is you have to use Celsius value, but what we are getting is Fahrenheit. So if you want to get the Celsius value, which means we have to make use of Fahrenheit, which means we have to call the previous function. So I'm calling the previous function with Fahrenheit, okay, plus okay, this is the second function. If you're not sure here what happens here, what we need is temperature in Celsius, but what we get is from Fahrenheit. So that means we have to call this function to get the Celsius value, and to that we have to add 273.15. So let me run this. Now we have two functions. We have TC that is 32, it's 0, and then we have TK Kelvin. Let me put again 32. So we'll get 273.15 because the Celsius value will be 0 plus 273.15 will get the same. Okay, I think that's enough for today. What we are going to do this after completing these four functions, we will discuss how to make use of import statements to make use of these functions in other scripts, right? Because we are writing our own set of functions, and we will discuss how to make use of them in our codes. So that's exactly what I'm going to discuss. Okay, so to summarize what we have done, right? Let me see. To summarize what we have done, I'm going to do two things, right? First of all, I want you to so this is the program that actually what we have done so far is modules, and then previously we discussed file handling, right, and modules. What I want to summarize, we discussed few things. Let's see how far we have done. Get your quick feedback, right? Give me 3 minutes. I'm going to finish this for today, right? Right, so I will have a small feedback session. Let me run. Right, so go to www.menti.com to conclude our session. I will put the link in the chat. right? Go to menti.com, use the code 77414816. Yes, type your answer. Will take only 1 or 2 minutes and we'll finish for today. Yes, anyone? You have 1 more minute. Yes, mainly we discussed 2 things, file handling and modules. Yes. Then apart from that, yes, we discussed a little bit about read file, read line, file read, math modules, graphics. Right, and I hope you enjoyed the lesson, and these things that we have learned today is very important for us in coming sessions. Everything is actually connected, so make sure that you spend some time on learning these things. Okay, so we'll move to the next part, right? The next one, I want you to tell me how to improve today's lesson, right? We discussed couple of topics, mainly file handling and modules. Any suggestions to improve the way I have conducted the session? What you have feel about this? Whether my speed is too slow, too speed, your true feedback. Whether you need like more examples, whether I should spend more time, which will help me to prepare for the next one. I'm welcome for negative comments as well. Remember that negative comments are the ones actually improve us. So please. Okay, that's all then. If you provide the feedback, then you may leave the session. We'll meet tomorrow. And in tomorrow, we are going to go ahead and we are going to learn a couple of new topics. With that one, actually, we have few topics left. We can go directly to data analytics part, the main modules. But before that, I want to talk about the object orientation, right? And few more topics. And with that, we all set. We are all good to look at more advanced topics in Python. Okay, good night then, and hope to see you all tomorrow's session. Thanks.